For the first 3 days of the Edgbaston Test match, the match was completely on the knife's edge. Then some sharp bowling by the English bowlers on day 4 meant they cut through the Indian batting lineup to register a 31-run win and lead the 5-match series 1-0 by that process. VVS Lakshman and Steve Harmison join us. Steve, many congratulations, not just for England winning, but for getting your predictions right. One, you said they'll win by 20 runs, 31, not too far away. The other thing you said was that the Indian tail is not going to wag, and it didn't happen this time around. But my question to you is, just looking at this stat, no Asian team has ever won a test match at Edgbaston. I mean, that includes India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka. No one's ever won it. What's it about this ground that England do so well? We even spoke about that 2005 test match against Australia.
Yeah, England always play well at Edgbaston. They've been unbeaten there for a number of years now, and it's a great place for. They normally start the summer there. England's first Test match is normally at Edgbaston, and then they changed it to Lords. But we always used to get beat at Lords. Everybody seemed to raise the game when it came to Lords. So watch out for that one next week. But no, Edgbaston seems to be a fortress, along with Old Trafford, for English cricket and the England cricket team. And I thought the best team won. I think you take Virat Kohli out of the Indian side. India bowl well, but none of their batters really came to the party. England possibly the same, apart from Joe Root. Bairstow got in the first innings. Jennings got a little score. Curran in the second innings counter-attack. So I think England played the better cricket over the course of the 3 days in one session. So I think they deserve to win the Test match.
All right, they did deserve to win that test match. Let's quickly show you the scorecard of how this entire test match panned out. All 4 days of it, India dismissed for 162 in their second inning. It was Ben Stokes who was on fire on day 4. There you can see it. England winning by 31 runs. The only Indian batsman you can see in both those innings, Virat Kohli with 149 the first time around, then 59. Man of the match is the young Sam Curran, getting 63 there, also amongst the wickets, 4 for 74 in the first inning. It was Ben Stokes there getting 4 in the second innings. VVS, did Steve just sum it up really well? I know it was a very close test match, but the better team won. Is that the bottom line?
Definitely the better team, and who played with more consistency, especially the batting unit, because you can't rely on only one batsman to score this runs, and I definitely feel the intensity with which the English bowlers bowl even this morning, and more so the young Sam Curran. I think ultimate difference in this test match is the performance of Sam Curran, especially in the second innings. If he wouldn't have got 63, then probably the match would have been over yesterday itself. So definitely a better team won, more so from the batting unit, and you have to give credit to the bowlers of both the sides.
Okay, we heard from Virat Kohli talking about lack of application. Now let's get serious. Let's talk about this Indian batting lineup. It's not been doing too well overseas. Now, I mean, before the test match starts, we start talking about whether Pujara's strike rate is good or not. But should we be really talking about a bit rich now for us to talk about strike rates? Shouldn't we be concentrating on getting a team that can at least get you 100, Virat Kohli aside?
I don't think so that at the start of this series there was any conversation or talk about Pujara's strike rate. It was about picking the best playing 11, best batting unit, and I don't think there was any problem as far as the selection was concerned. Yes, I would have definitely loved Pujara to have played at number 3 because of his experience, but KL Rahul also is a class player, and if you see Pujara's performance leading into this test match for Yorkshire or even in the practice game was not up to the mark. So I don't think that the team management will be overly worried about the selection. The players who were on the park were capable enough to beat England irrespective of what conditions they were facing, but they will be definitely disappointed, especially with the shots they played, and you can get out, but if you get out on a good wicket-taking delivery, that's fine. But if you play loose shots like the way Shikhar played, like the way Ajinkya Rahane played, then it's definitely going to be a tough task for Team India, because mind you, from now on it's going to be tough batting conditions. The ball is swinging, and that's something which later I would love to hear from Steve, that why the ball suddenly, especially after the 10-15 overs, starts to swing, because we were all expecting that the conditions will be more suitable for batting, even though it just rained 2 days before the test match started. The overall summer has been dry. There have been a heat wave there, but still the ball swung throughout the innings, and for both the teams. So I think that will be a cause of concern for the Indian batsmen.
The reason I mentioned Pujara is because he played those couple of practice games, and there were talks about him not getting off the mark for the first 70 deliveries, first 80 deliveries, and then there were articles written, no, he's not really fit enough to be playing. And I'm saying the conversation revolved around that. Actually, no one really looked at the fact that the Indian batting lineup was not getting runs, and it's only Virat Kohli. Steve, to you, I mean, I'm sure the Indian team would be disappointed. As you, as an analyst, from the English camp, I mean, looking at the way the teams performed, the Indian batting on the whole, I heard Nasser Hussain say before the Test match started that this Indian team is capable of getting 500 runs. It doesn't seem like that, barring Virat Kohli at the moment.
Yeah, I'm surprised because I tipped India to win this series. I thought India would be, because of England's inability to score first innings runs. I thought that's where that lay where England, the difference between England and India. But we've seen, and it's not the pitches. VVS is right. There's been a heat wave. It's been Indian weather for the last sort of six or 7 weeks in England at this moment, and even now it's very, very warm. But the Duke ball swings, and the ball, you don't need the pitch to move if you can get the ball to swing and you look after it. And like VVS says about the ball, 10, 12, 15 overs old, it swings, and it does. Once that lacquer comes off, and they can get a good shine on the ball and get a scuff on one side, the ball will move for 40 overs in this country. And I think because of that, it comes down to the application as well. The thing I'd say about the Indian batsmen, I was very, very surprised at the way I thought they panicked a little bit. I thought which surprised me a lot because of the way they play their cricket, the IPL. They go into big stadiums, big grounds, they're showmen, they stick their chest out, and they perform in the art of being able to go at the ball, picking the right times to play on the right occasion. Well, this time it's different. You have to stick your chest out, but it's tough, and you have to ride the storm out to get yourself, earn the right to get in a position to play these big innings. And unfortunately, apart from Virat, none of the Indian batsmen, and that would concern me more than anything on this series going forward from now on, because England now, Broad, Anderson, Stokes, who might miss the next game, and Curran, I tell you what, they'll be licking their lips, and next time India come out to bat at Lords.
Okay, two things I can ask you based on what Steve has just said. First thing, he feels that the Indian batting panicked apart from Virat Kohli, and that really surprises him because these are the guys who play, packed stadiums in the IPL. Do you think they panicked?
I think they didn't panic, more from the atmosphere or more from the pressure from the spectators who are watching there. I think they're experienced enough and they played enough in packed houses and where there's a lot of noise. But I think they panicked more from the technique, because in the first innings, I think their technique was exposed, especially when the ball started to move. And in the second innings, just because of the swinging conditions and the English bowlers were bowling with a lot of discipline. And here I would love to give credit to the English bowlers, because invariably there will be some loose deliveries, but what we have seen over the 2 innings, they were not loose deliveries at all bowled to the Indian batsmen. How many times you have seen the Indian batsmen whip through the onside? Whatever shots were more on the offside. So the kind of discipline with which the English bowlers bowled, I think the Indian batsmen started doubting their technique against the moving ball, and that's something which Virat Kohli and Ravi Shastri have to address. You can get out, but it's important how you address that issue and move forward with a positive frame of mind. The moment you lose belief in your ability, then Test cricket tests your character, and Test cricket exposes your mindset.
Okay, the other thing that Steve said was that looking at the conditions, it felt like you're playing in India rather than England. Is it then really disappointing that almost India-like condition and India has lost? I mean, teams can lose. You've been part of the team.
What Steve was telling was more from the weather conditions.
Exactly.
In India, it doesn't swing so much as it swung throughout this throughout this Test match. So it's more about the weather conditions, and that's why I was surprised to see that kind of swing. And it's definitely, it boils down to the Duke's ball, and it's not only the English bowlers who got that swing, it's also the Indian bowlers. And in hindsight, if you see the first session of the first day, I think the Indian bowlers didn't bowl well. So I think when it's a low-scoring game, like it was, all the 1%ers matter a lot. But I think the ball is going to swing, because it's the ball which will be consistent throughout the series, and I'm sure the English bowlers will be mindful the lengths, the lines to bowl to this Indian batsman.
Right, I'm going back to the question. Do you think it is more disappointing that this could have been India's best chance to win a Test match in England? Of course, Indian teams have lost, but under such conditions as you're talking, this could have been India's best chance, and that is what makes this loss more disappointing?
Yeah, I think when you especially when you put the batting lineup and compare the batting lineup of both the sides, the Indian batting lineup has got more experience. The Indian batting lineup has got more quality than the English batting lineup. They overly depend on a root, a cook, or a base toe, whereas Indian batsmen are experienced. And if you see that Test match record and statistics, it proves that. But having said that, I don't think that the Indian batting lineup will lose a lot of confidence. Yeah, it's a 5 Test match series, but if you start doubting your own abilities in the first Test match of the series, then there is no chance you're giving to yourself to bounce back and do well for the remaining part of the series. And that's where the character of the player will be tested. How quickly they learn from this, not forget, but learn from this experience and move forward with a positive mindset.
Okay, interesting you say that the Indian batsmen will not lose confidence. I'll take that question to Steve as well. Steve, I remember you telling us the other day that, if the first test doesn't really go India's way, you could see things going downhill from there. Do you suspect that's still happening? A visiting team not winning the first test match, and a 5 test long series can be really, really long for any team to travel and then do really well there.
I think what you have is when you play a back-to-back Test match, and VVS will back me up on this. If you win the first game and you've only got 3 days in between the next game, the team that wins the first game, the stiffness, the body soreness, the little chinks in the armoury, it goes away because you bounce to the next game and you think, we're 1-0 up, we feel confident. But on your flip side that, you lose it. There's some mental scars there a little bit. Some of the Indian batsmen will be thinking, well, the way the thing I look at the Indian batsmen, the way they got out, some of the players are getting out in a certain way, where that's where England will exploit throughout the whole 5 Test match summer. There was some poor shots played, and I think England will be looking at Broad and Anderson and Stokes and Curran. Will be thinking, something like Shikhar Dhawan, they'll be bowling, they'll just stick it outside off stump there and say, go on, drive as much as you want, go on, keep driving. Keep going for it, leave it, and then go for the drive, and then you get caught slip. All of a sudden, if he gets caught again that way, having not had the greatest build-up, then you're going back to somebody like Pujara, who you didn't want to pick in the first place. So all this comes to what I mean by, if you lose the first Test match, the mental doubts and the mental scars that come with it. The biggest thing for England is Stokes. Ben Stokes, for me, world class, one of the best players in the world. If he has to miss that Test match at Lord's next week, which he potentially could, that would be a bigger loss for England than what Virat would be for India at this moment in time. Because we've seen today, nobody really wanted to win this Test match. Nobody really wanted to put their hand up. They've let themselves back in. India let England in. England let India in. But this morning, when it needed a character to go and win it, Stokes went and win it. And I think if he misses next week, it could be huge for England.
We're going to talk about Ben Stokes at length after a short break. But before that, the thing that Steve says there, that mental scar is really tough to put aside after you've lost the first Test match, and especially when the gap is really less. How do you see that?
Yeah, the first and foremost, the important trait of any sportsman, especially at the highest level, is how you bounce back from failures. And then all these players will take a lot of pride in their performance. So I'm sure that they will bounce back strongly. They have done that in the past, and I'm sure they will do once again. But if you're thinking about what has happened, and instead of brooding about that, learn from the mistakes, move forward, and that's what international sportsperson's mindset should always be, and I'm sure it will be from this Indian team.
Okay, the Indian team's character would be tested when they go to Lord's to play that second Test match. Steve Harmison, VVS Lakshman, stay on with us. We'll take a short break, but as Steve was mentioning, Ben Stokes was really, really crucial for the English team. Will he be part of that second Test match? We'll talk about that after a short break. Welcome back to ESPN Cricket Info Match Day. VVS Lakshman, Steve Harmison with us. VVS, great to see a 20-year-old winning the man of the match just in his second test match, but you could have easily split it between him and Ben Stokes as well.
Oh yeah, but Ben Stokes will be really happy because the youngster definitely deserves that man of the match award. Not necessarily with his 4-wicket all in the first innings, but the 63 runs he got in the second innings. I thought that was the turning point of this test match. Otherwise, the test match would have been finished yesterday itself. But what I really was liking about the youngster was the maturity and the calmness he showed when he was batting. And we discussed this yesterday. His footwork was precise, and clarity of thought. But to have that kind of mindset in the second test match in crunch situation, playing for the first time in packed houses, because England played against Pakistan, but when India and England play in a test match, it's always packed houses, and with so much of noise, he didn't have that experience before. But to hold your nerve and do what is required for the team speaks a lot about his temperament.
Okay, Steve, to you, you mentioned Ben Stokes a bit. What's the latest with him? I mean, earlier we were hearing reports that he is definitely going to miss that second test match, but is there a chance, that hearing can be postponed and he can be part of that second test?
Well, I'm not exactly 100% sure. I was at the game for the first 2 days, and the rumours that were going around the press area was that the case might be adjourned, possibly be adjourned on Monday morning, which means Stokes will be available for or potentially be available for the second test. At the minute, it's all ifs and buts. I think it's one of these ones. Come Thursday morning, if he's available to play, great. If he's not available to play, well, they knew this was going to happen. So, and they've known for a while, so they have to plan accordingly either way. I expect him to be in the squad, but whether he's in the team or not is two different things. I think that all depends on whether the court case gets started or not. But the one thing, like I mentioned before, he's box office, he's world class, he's just proved it there. And if he misses the test match at Lord's, there's some big players for big sides, and he's the biggest for England, as we've seen, not in the Ashes this winter, and England they got humiliated. Stokes is huge for England.
Okay, because he's talking about Stokes, and I want you to think like a batsman. He's picked up a few wickets, but do you want to give any benefit of doubt to the Indian batsman? Was he unplayable at times?
We have to admit that some of the deliveries were really unplayable, and they were wicket-taking deliveries. It deserves a wicket, especially the way KL Rahul got out. The ball coming in, and we mentioned yesterday, and again just holding its line, going away, opened up Rahul totally. And Rahul is someone who's got a compact technique. Yeah. So I think the deliveries he got to bowl to the batsman and consistently bowling in the channel speaks volumes. And I was mentioning off air that since that incident in Bristol, this is the first time I've seen the body language of Ben Stokes, because I watched him closely during the IPL, we watched him during the ODI series. The body language of Ben Stokes was exactly the same the way it was before that incident in Bristol. So he's got back the confidence, and going forward he'll not only have a huge impact with the ball but also with the bat, because confidence plays a huge role in the performance of a player. Okay,
I'll take that to Steve as well. Did you notice what VVS Lakshman mentions about Ben Stokes? Issues that he had off the field. We had a similar situation with the Indian fast bowler in Mohammad Shami. He had some personal issues. We were really worried whether he's going to have that sort of confidence when he goes onto the pitch, but he did show a lot of it, picked up those wickets. Similar things happened to Ben Stokes, and were you happy to see the kind of body language that he displayed on the field?
Yeah, Ben's, like I said last night, I've known Ben since he was sort of 14, 15-year-old. He's got talent, he's got ability. It's all for there to see. It's just as he gets older and the better he'll get is when he puts all his ducks in the right place to make sure he's delivering at the right time, both bat and with ball. I think Ben Stokes missed a lot of cricket. Let's be fair. Ben Stokes, since Bristol, he missed a lot of cricket over the course of the winter. And I think it takes time, like I mentioned last night about fast bowling. It's not an exact science, you're not robots. And I think for somebody like Ben, the better he performs, the better body language it comes off. It's only human nature, and I think that's what you're seeing now. The better he's performing, the better he is around his body language is, the more confident he's getting, the better he is becoming at delivering his skills. And I think today, exactly what has been said many times before, when you want somebody to put your hand up for a team, And there's nobody bigger in world cricket than Ben Stokes, and more often than not he does it, and he did that this morning. Fantastic.
Okay, big match player. We're talking about the two stars for England in Sam Curran and Ben Stokes. I'm going back to Sam Curran and his knock, which you, as you mentioned, was very, very important for England winning this test match. But we also tend to forget that 89 runs that were added by the tail with Curran. Now, do you think that was the big difference between India in the second innings and then England? I mean, you'd expect
you can't blame the tail.
Yes, exactly.
And I mean, to be fair to the tail, they hung around even with Virat Kohli. You know, Ishan had the partnership. Umesh showed a lot of character. Even today, when Hardik was there, Umesh hung in there, and Ishan. You can't expect more than that from the tail. But having said that, what I again impressed about Sam Curran was to stitch a partnership with the tail. And Adil Rashid has got first class 100 and he can bat. You know, and England also has got depth in their batting lineup, like in white ball cricket. But just for a young player, you can understand Virat Kohli with his experience knows how to get the best when he's batting with the tail and get the best out of the bowlers while batting. But Sam Curran is playing his second match, and for him to show that kind of maturity speaks volumes of the talent he possesses and also his mindset.
Okay, Virat Kohli has echoed your thoughts about the tail, as you mentioned. You can't expect anything more from them. He's gone on to say, when he was asked at the post-match press conference about what he thought of Indian batting, he said the Indian top order needs to learn from the tail. Application is missing. Clearly, the Indian skipper is not in a happy mood, and so you expect.
You expect that, you know, because he fought it out and he showed what application is all about, because there's no bigger stroke player in this Indian batting lineup than Virat Kohli. But for him to curb that natural instinct of his, leave a lot of deliveries, show the discipline, leaving the balls outside the off stump, and you know, it's tough, you know, when you're a natural stroke player. So you have to play to the conditions, you have to play to the situation, and that's why he used the word application, because it's not necessary to be talented, but how you use the talent and how you apply your mind in a particular situation is very important if you have to achieve success, which the Indian batsman didn't show.
Okay, VVS Lakshman, Steve Harbinson, stay on with us. The first match is done and dusted. England have won, but then we've got 4 matches to go. What does India need to do going forward? We'll talk about that after a short break.
As the best.
Welcome back to ESPN Cricket for Match Day. VVS Lakshman, Steve Harmison with us. VVS, I'll go back to, because we were talking about the Indian tail, that decision against Ishant Sharma. Did you see something on that ultra edge, that nick? Could that have changed the course
first
of the match?
reaction was they probably might have been inside edge, you know, but I'm sure the third umpire has got a better understanding than what we are seeing on television. And in the end, it was a good move by Joe Root to get Adil Rashid, because Ishant Sharma was looking comfortable against the fast bowlers. Over the years, Ishant Sharma has got out against a spinner in similar fashion, a flipper, bowling a googly and bowling a flatter trajectory, and he gets LBW. So I think it was a very smart move and a good piece of captaincy from Joe Root to introduce Adil Rashid at that time.
Okay, the reason I'm asking that question, I'll put that same question to you, Steve. A lot of buzz on social media about that particular little spike that we saw in that edge. Did you see any of that?
I seen the spike. I actually thought Ishant hit his pad with his bat. I thought there was a little, the little edge. I think if you look at the bottom of the screen, the bottom of the bat looked as though it just clipped the pad, and I think that's what the third umpire seen. It looked as though there was a little bit of daylight, and the ball between the bat and pad there was a little bit of a difference. So I actually thought it was there. I seen the spike and thought, oh, he's inside edged it. But I think when you've seen it time after time, I thought there was a little clip of the bat off the pad, right at the bottom, down by Ishant's heel.
Okay, also Steve, to you, talking about that Virat Kohli dismissal, as we were saying, that's going to be the most crucial wicket for England. They got him out, LBW. There's a school of thought that might believe that, because he was getting out, nicking the ball outside the off stump, could he have overcompensated for that by just shuffling a bit across and then getting that ball on his pads?
No, I think Ben, I thought it was quite good bowling. I think a lot of times in this game, you can ask about a batsman's technique and a batsman's shot selection, but I think the pressure the bowlers have put them under and the actual delivery the bowler was executed, you've got to give credit to the bowler. And I think I'd give credit to Ben Stokes and not look too much into what Virat Kohli was doing. I think Virat Kohli seen the ball just sort of coming in and angling in. Ben Stokes is losing his wrist a little bit. It was angling in towards off stump. And I think because Virat's looking to try and score runs, he was looking to open up that leg side. And I think he just fell over. It just simple, heavy head.
Yeah.
And sometimes, and VVS will back you up there saying, a batsman does, his head just gets caught over the top of his front foot and, he misses it. He misses it by a small amount from an inside edge point of view. If his head's in the right place and the ball swings, he gets an inside edge because he's full face of the bat. This time, that was probably a decent bit of bowling, so credit to the bowler.
Okay, Vivis, I'll let you take that because you often said that the batsman sometimes keeps looking for that swing and then he has to be really careful that ball coming in. Sometimes.
Yeah, I think it just it didn't execute that shot properly because that's bread and butter. That's the strength of Virat Kohli. Anything on the middle and off, he whips through the mid-wicket region. It's just that he missed, but it was a smart piece of bowling because majority of the deliveries which Virat Kohli was facing was in that channel. And when you're preparing for that to counter that kind of line. Sometimes, your head can go, you're premeditatedly taking your left leg across to cover your off stump and leave the delivery. But I thought it was smart bowling. But 9 out of 10 times, Virat Kohli will hit that through mid-wicket for a boundary. It was not today.
Okay, India have lost this particular test match. Going forward, do you see too many changes? Would you like to see a few changes or none at all?
No, none at all. Okay. That depends again on the surface you're going to get at Lords, whether you require 3 fast bowlers, Hardik and just Ashwin, or you require add strength to your batting. Probably have one extra batsman. Pujara is out there in the squad, and Hardik can do the role of the fourth bowler.
Would you add Pujara then?
It depends on the conditions because definitely there's no doubt that the ball is going to swing because it was nothing to do with the wicket. It was nothing to do with the conditions. You saw everyone were telling that it's warm, it's muggy there, but still the ball was swinging. So I'm sure that throughout the series the ball is going to swing. So I think it all depends on the conditions, but it's very important to trust the players you picked in the first game. If you chop and change, it creates an insecurity within the side, it creates a doubt within the mind of the player, and that's not going to add to their confidence. In fact, it can very quickly shatter their confidence. So that's very important to trust the players you select and back them.
Okay, any scope, Steve, according to you, for the Indian team to make a couple of changes? You briefly mentioned Pujara in the earlier answer that you gave.
From an England point of view, it all depends on Ben Stokes and the dynamics of their team. I agree with what VVS is saying. If you've got confidence in the first day of a first Test match series, this is my 11. The only time I'm changing it is if it's a tactical change. So maybe it's an extra spinner, or whether you want to play the extra batsman. England, from an England point of view. From an England perspective.
No, from an England
I don't
perspective?
see England making a change. In Indian perspective, no. I think the only thing I would suggest is maybe Jadeja plays instead of one of the seamers. But all the seamers, to be fair, bowl really, really well. So it would be harsh to drop one of them. Would it be Yadav? So Jadeja for Yadav. If Ben Stokes doesn't play, you might just simply see Moeen Ali coming in, or you might see Moeen Ali coming in anywhere. If they don't believe David Milan, or they believe it's going to swing, or going to spin, because they'll go 4 seamers and 2 spinners.
All right, Steve Armisen, thanks so much for joining us, sharing your thoughts on this entire test match. Thanks so much, VVS, for joining us. Of course, we had an exciting test match that we saw in Edgbaston. It's just set the tone for how the series might just be. We've still got 4 test matches to go, but here's a reminder that you can catch all the analysis. We'll be back with ESPN Cricket for Match Day ahead of the second test match. So see you then. It's bye-bye from all of us.